YouTube? This is your boy Alex. This is me getting lucky again. Today's Monday. Start the week off. I decided to take a break from my actual other channels because I have a big project coming up. I'm going to bring back the best television shows and start that project on the greatest black filmmakers of all times. It requires a lot of research. That's not why you watch my sports channel. You watch my sports channel because I talk about nothing but sports. Now, this is going to be the next episode in my series. I say I always do 3 videos, right? I'm a man of my word. And this one's a very tough one to make. This was like very hard. This one took me like almost 2 months to sit down and think all my collective thoughts on how to put this together. It's going to be a very long video, so brace yourself. This video might last 25, 30 minutes, might even last 40 minutes, might even cross the mark into the 42-minute mark. So if this video gets to 42 minutes, I apologize if it's a long, lengthy video. And this is going to be called, yes, I have a script. This is going to be called it's going to be called NFL Top 12 Greatest Winning Teams of All Times. We take 12 of the greatest professional football teams in the NFL who won the most Super Bowls, who did the most winning, who was out there kicking ass and taking names in football. That's what this video is about. It's about sports. So let's get into the list, shall we? Coming in at number 12 is Kansas City Chiefs. Now, they won 2 championships. They won 2 Super Bowls. Now, yes, their first Super Bowl was like almost 30 years ago, and they won a Super Bowl like this year. Like, a lot of people did not expect Patrick Mahomes to actually win his championship within 3 or 4 seasons on being on that football team. And the reason why they're at number 12 is because this team is going to be around for the next decade. I don't care if you hate the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't care if they beat your favorite football team. And they did stuff in the playoffs that no one expected. Like, people thought it was going to be, what's that football team? People thought it was going to be the Houston Texans. It wasn't the Houston Texans. People thought it was going to be, what's that quarterback on that football team? I can't even think of his name. It'll come back to me. But people thought it was going to be Baltimore. There we go. People thought it was going to be the Baltimore Ravens. It was Kansas City Chiefs from the very beginning of the season. They took all your top contenders and knocked them all out. And then if you thought the game was a fluke, they did it again. Oh, we can beat you twice. We can beat you 3 times. And then if you need us to do it in the playoffs, so they show they can beat somebody 4 times to show you how real it is. And then to go all the way to the Super Bowl and beat who was supposed to win the Super Bowl. And then to win the Super Bowl, it's like, oh my God, they actually do the impossible. And to do it on the biggest stage of it all and to beat out who you expect, the Patriots, right? To go to the Super Bowl, the Patriots didn't make the Super Bowl, or if they made the Super Bowl, like I gotta, check my sources, but whether they made it or didn't make it, they beat everybody that there was to face. They beat the Green Bay Packers. And that's why they get number 12 on this list, because that's not going to be the only time we see this team in the future. Like, I have a feeling they might do what hasn't been done in the last 15 years. That's win back-to-back championships, back-to-back Super Bowls. They can play offense. They can play defense. They can play 4 quarters. They got all their players coming back this season. They're stacked. And they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And they're going to show why they won the Super Bowl. So if someone says, oh, you just got lucky winning the Super Bowl, don't be surprised if you see Kansas City Chiefs dominate for the next decade. Coming in at number 11 is the Baltimore Ravens. This team also has won 2 championships. Now, Baltimore, the story of how they won their first championship to this day is legendary. It is synonymous with NFL greatness. You get Ray Lewis, who goes to Baltimore, plays for that football team, and he guaranteed that they would win a championship in the year 2000. And to this day, people still think of that first Super Bowl win and the way they won it. They took on all top contenders. They went in there with high expectations to only be in the NFL for like maybe 5, maybe 6 years, because, the Indianapolis Colts once upon a time was called the Baltimore Colts. And then the Baltimore Colts Colts left and went to Indianapolis and became the Indianapolis Colts. For those that want to know some NFL history with this team, that's how Baltimore won their first Super Bowl. Then, 10 years later, before Ray Lewis retires, he wins a second championship. Now, the idea that this team almost went back to the Super Bowl this season is scary because just imagine had Baltimore had gone back to the Super Bowl. So somewhere in the next 4 or 5 years, I have a huge feeling Baltimore is going to win a third championship. Whenever they go to the Super Bowl, it's when no one expects it. Nobody sees it coming. They punch you right in the face. They punch you right in the mouth. And they knock you on your ass. You just will never know when the offense and the defense gets going. And when they get going in the season, they're hard to stop. You know how hard it is to stop Baltimore? When they play against the Packers, they're not scared of the Packers. When they go against their rival Pittsburgh Steelers, they're not scared. When they go against the Cowboys, they put the Cowboys in a straitjacket. When they go against the Raiders, they're not afraid of the Raiders. When they go against the Rams, they're not afraid. This team's not afraid of no one. If you don't believe me, you ask any native in Baltimore, and they'll tell you Ravens ain't scared of shit. That's why they won 2 championships, and they were this close to getting a third title. This team scares me. Coming in at number 10 is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they've won 2 championships, and we all know that they were once in Baltimore. When they were the Baltimore Colts, they won a whole lot of championships before they got into the NFL. So before they got into the NFL, it was like a 4-time world champion. But when you get purchased from the NFL and you come into the football league, those championships that you won before the NFL, they get discredited and you got to kind of like start all over again. It's the same thing what happened with the ABA. They got purchased by the NBA, and the titles that the Spurs had won before they got into the NBA, they were discredited. It's the same thing here. So the Colts won 2 championships. And the idea that they won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. I mean, you know how legendary this team is? To have your father play on this football team, and then to turn around and have a son play on the football team and go to a Super Bowl and win a championship. And then to turn around and go to a second Super Bowl with that team. I mean, it's amazing how this can actually happen. I mean, I'm just trying to tell you. Now, some of y'all probably are going to wonder why this team on the list. Because the father was on that team and went to a Super Bowl and lost. And then his son played on the same team and went to 2 Super Bowls. Do you know how rare it is to have your father play on a football team and then some 20 years later you come into the draft and you're on that same football team and then you go to 2 Super Bowls? Do you know how rare that is in the NFL, in any professional sport? Now, some of y'all might say they're on 2 different teams. You got double check your sources. That's why this team's on the list. Coming in at number 9 is the New York Giants. Now, this team has won 4 championships and gone to 7 Super Bowls. Now, they've gone to 7 or 8 Super Bowls, but they won 4 championships. Now, what makes the New York Giants interesting on this list is that they do nothing for the beginning of the NFL season. And then all of a sudden, just when you think it's time for this team to get eliminated, they turn into the Terminator. I mean, they start beating football teams you just don't expect. When it's the Giants versus the Cowboys, you expect Cowboys to beat the Giants. But when it gets to that playoff atmosphere, all of a sudden the Dallas Cowboys get destroyed. They go against the Raiders, they beat the Raiders. All of a sudden they go against the Rams, they beat the Rams. All of a sudden they start whooping football teams that they're supposed to lose to. And they do this throughout their whole theme. Eli Manning wins 2 championships, undefeated in the Super Bowl. And you see, nobody really gives this version of the New York Giants no credit, no respect. It's like he beat Tom Brady twice, and he does it in the Super Bowl. He doesn't just beat Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in the football season. He did it to Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. He took 2 championships away from Tom Brady in Super Bowls. Do you know how difficult it is to play a powerful team like the Patriots, beat the Patriots twice, and do it twice in a Super Bowl? Then you get a Super Bowl rematch, and you beat them in the rematch. I mean, you know, he took 2 championships away from Tom Brady. Okay, Tom Brady went to the Super Bowl 9 times, won 6 championships, but Eli took 2 of those. So imagine if Tom Brady was a 9 time Super Bowl. That's basically what could have happened had the Giants lost twice. And the Giants did this to a team that they were expected to lose. Both times, the odds was the Patriots was going to win the Super Bowl. The first time, the Giants broke that undefeated record that they compared to the 1972 Miami Dolphins. So yeah, you kind of have to like wonder, oh my God, yeah. Now you get to we get to number 8, the Miami Dolphins. Now their first Super Bowl championship was won in 1972. Now they actually gone to the Super Bowl like 4 times, but they won their first championship and it was called the perfect season. Do you know how hard it is to win all your games in preseason, season, beat everybody in the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl, and win the Super Bowl convincing? And then they try to repeat that success the very next year later. They lost. Then the third year, they go back to a Super Bowl. They win 2 championships 2 years in a row, but they try to do the same thing 3 years in a row. But the first year they was undefeated. And to this very day, there are books, documentaries written about their first Super Bowl win because they are the blueprints. They are the key of success. They are the monarchs of the NFL. They're the only team in the NFL to actually have an undefeated record while winning a championship. Other football teams have come close. No one has done it better than Miami Dolphins. It is a tragedy. It's a shame that they're not higher on this list. Coming in at lucky number 7. That is the LA Raiders, or call them the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, they've gone to 6 Super Bowls, but they won 3 championships. Remember that I said in the beginning of this video that there were teams that were a part of another football league, and then the NFL purchased those teams, and whatever championships you won before you got into the NFL don't count? Well, the Raiders are a prime example of that. They did win 3 championships, and this team is just going to get better. Them going to Las Vegas might be the thing that tips them over into the Super Bowl. Just imagine if the Raiders won a Super Bowl in Las Vegas. Just imagine if you had a Super Bowl in Las Vegas. I mean, do you know how insane that would be for Smash Mouth football? I mean, there's other reasons why they're on this list. You know, they moved to Vegas, they won 3 championships, and they proved that they can play the football style that they play. You know, for years they were told that run and gun style is not going to work in the NFL, and they're the only team that can actually do that and win championships doing it. So that's why they're on this list. Coming in at number 6 is a team that Stephen A. Smith loves to pick on and make fun of, but the Dallas Cowboys I'm going to talk about is the one that Jimmy Johnson coached. Now, I heard someone talk about my Cowboys. Now, how about them Dallas Cowboys? What's up now? I'm Jimmy Johnson. Let's go out there and kick some ass. Yeah, it's a Jimmy Johnson impersonation. Not perfect, but Jimmy Johnson sometimes can motivate a football team. That's why they're on this list. They won championships with this man. And the fact that had Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson never got into arguments, do you realize how many Super Bowls the Dallas Cowboys would have? They probably would have maybe 4 or 5 championships. I mean, do you know how powerful this team was? I mean, yeah, they won Super Bowls before they got Jimmy Johnson. But when they got Jimmy Johnson, they were going to the playoffs for 6 years. 6 out of 7 years, they kept going to the playoffs. And they were beating teams like the Denver Broncos. They were in there beating the Raiders. They was in there competing against the Miami Dolphins. They were beating teams like that. And the fact that when they brought in, Michael Irvin, you had Troy Aikman, that right there was his go-to guys. Then later they worked in Deion Primetime Sanders. And that's how Deion won his 2nd championship and gave Dallas their 3rd Super Bowl. So if they kept Jimmy Johnson, they could have won 4 championships, probably 5 championships. I mean, you just look at that football team in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. That team was dominant. They could play any style. That's what I loved about the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s. They could play any style. You want to get physical? Let's get physical. You want to do a running game? Let's do a running game. You want to play up the middle? Let's play up the middle. You want to go down the middle? Let's go down the middle. You want to run the clock out? Let's run the clock out. That team could do all of it. And what killed the chemistry of that football team was a coach and an owner could not see eye to eye. Jerry always said it. It's my NFL football team, and Jerry Jones is right. It is his Dallas Cowboys. Jimmy Johnson was the heart and the soul of the football team. Jimmy Johnson motivated the team. Whenever the owner couldn't get the football team to be motivated, Jimmy Johnson was the guy that went into the locker room, took your cell phone and threw it against the wall, and said, "Let's get to work. Let's get to practice. Let's get out there and play." And if you look at today's Cowboys, they're kind of like a resurrection of that football team. But what's missing from today's Cowboys is that you need a coach who can come into Prescott's face and say, "Let's get to work." And I guarantee you, if you get a coach like Jimmy Johnson, this team will be a force to be reckoned with. And Stephen A. Smith won't be so quick to make fun of the Dallas Cowboys no more. I'm just trying to tell you. Coming in at number 5 is the Denver Broncos. Now, this team right here is interesting because this is like one of the main teams in the Midwest that you do not want to take your eyes off of. Everyone talks about the Rams, the Chargers, the Raiders, the 49ers, but everyone forgets there's the Denver Broncos. It's like, is they're putting something in the water, in the air, or what? These guys go to a Super Bowl 4 times. They win 3 championships. You get John Elway, the guy who goes to 3 Super Bowls, but he wins 2 championships in 1997 and 1998 before he retired. Now, he could have stayed for one more season and helped that organization win 3 Super Bowls easily because he was that competitive to play against Troy Aikman and the Dallas Cowboys, to clash with his best friend, what's his name? Dan Marino and the Miami Dolphins, and to do it with such class and flair. Then fast forward 20 years later, comes in as a GM, brings Paint Manny with him, and the rest they say is history, and takes this team back to the Super Bowl and reminds you, hey, I won 2 championships as a player. I'm going to do the shit again as a GM. I mean, come on. He may be quiet, and I think when you think about Denver, you think about John Elway. He's quiet. He stays behind the scenes. He doesn't say anything. And then before you can even mention any other team, guess what happens? This team goes to the Super Bowl, and you're scratching your head trying to figure out, how does this team get to the Super Bowl? They're quiet. I would say that the Denver Broncos are like the equivalent to the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are quiet in the NBA. The Denver Broncos are quiet in the NFL. You hardly hear anything from Denver, and they go to a Super Bowl. And it's hard to do that. Coming in at number 4 is the Green Bay Packers. Now, this is a team that's been around since the formation of the NFL. What I mean since they've been around is that they were always in their own football league, the Packers, where they won a total of record of 13 championships. But like I told you in the beginning of the video, when the NFL bought another football league, they discredit the championships that you won from before, and you got to start all over again. And this team was a perfect example. Now, when we ask which version of the Packers are we talking about Aaron Rodgers' Packers? Are we talking about Brett Favre's Green Bay Packers? We're probably going to go with that version. We're going to go with the Brett Favre Packers. To me, for 13 seasons, when you think of Green Bay, you think of Brett Favre. When you think of Brett Favre, you think of Green Bay Packers. This team was another one of those quiet football teams that they played good in the season, they made it to the playoffs, but you never got the sense that they were going to come punch you in the face. Like, they be the one being your best friend, and then you blink eyes twice and they punch you right in the face. And this team has gone to the Super Bowl because they were so good at convincing you, let's be friends, and then they punch you in the mouth, and all of a sudden you turn around, they're hosting up your championship trophy. So this team, you should always take serious. Like, if you're playing football, you should always keep one eye on the football, and on the other side, keep an eye on Green Bay, because you don't know when they're going to take your championship, and Green Bay will take it. I mean, their name says everything. They're Green Bay Packers. They will pick the locks and take your championship. Coming in at number 3 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. One of the next NFL teams to win the most Super Bowls is 6. Now, this team is a force to be reckoned with. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they're intimidating. Every time you think you're going to beat this team, they come back. You look at when they got Ben Roethlisberger, and you look at how he took that team to 3 Super Bowls. They won 2 championships, but they gone to 3 Super Bowls. If it weren't for him being seriously injured all the time, they probably would have gone easily to 4 or 5 Super Bowls, and he probably would have won 3 championships because the potential and the talent's there. Everybody who's played on other football teams, when they go to Pittsburgh, there's only one culture. You win. You win or you go home. And this team says it in their name. You win or you just go home. And guess what? It don't matter who you are on that team. You play your role, you play in the system, you get focused, you get physical, you play, you catch the ball, and you go home with a win. And this team has won 6 championships, but they have gone to like 7 or 8, maybe 9 Super Bowls, but they won 6. And just the idea that if it weren't for the injuries or players being traded or retiring, this team probably would have been maybe one of the few teams to win more. I mean, it's sad what's happened to the team now, but if you just think at the beginning of that formation, you're seeing a Pittsburgh team that is going down in history as one of the greatest teams because they have lasted longer than what people expect. Some people gave this team 5 or 6 years. This team's lasted 15, 16 years. It's unprecedented on what this football team has done in the NFL. Coming in at number 2 is a team I like, but everyone hates this team, and it's just a shame that Tom Brady's not on this team no more, but what he was on this team, it was the New England Patriots. Gone to 9 Super Bowls, or actually, should I say, they actually went to 10 Super Bowls, but nobody remembers that Super Bowl that they lost. You know, at that time it was Seattle Seahawks and the Patriots. At that time, nobody remembers it. But before, Coach Belichick came, before Tom Brady came, that organization had went to a Super Bowl and lost. Then we get to the year 2000, 2001, we got our coach, we got our player, and the relationship begins. Tom Brady goes out and plays, Bill Belichick goes out and coach. And they're the one-punch combination. It was like if you took Kobe Bryant, and Kobe didn't play basketball, and Kobe played football, and you took Phil Jackson, and you took him out of that system of basketball, same mentality as a coach, and you put him into the NFL, it's the same thing, it's just with football. You got Gronkowski, he's your Shaquille O'Neal. And this is why they won. This is why Tom Brady's gone to 9 Super Bowls, won 6 championships. And people will always go down and say, yeah, Tom Brady did win his first Super Bowl coming off the bench, which is very rare for a player to do, take someone's spot and play for 20 years on one football team. It's not the first time we've heard of it, because when you find out who's number 1, it's going to shock your system. Now it's over, and some people want to know, could he actually do it again with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? So you have to wonder, why on earth is this number 2? Because the one thing that hurts this football team, they can play offense, defense, they can win in overtime, 2 overtimes, 3 overtimes. They've won Super Bowls, but there's always this one thing we'll never forget: the perfect season. Tom Brady had a shot to repeat history by being the second team or third team in NFL history to go undefeated and win a championship. And the New York Giants ruined it for Tom Brady and the Patriots because they had everything going. And to have your first loss in the Super Bowl, that hurts. Because you get MVP, you are on the verge of greatness, and then this gets taken from you. Then you show up in 2012's Super Bowl rematch, Patriots versus Giants, and this time you lose by 1 touchdown. And that had to make Tom Brady even more furious. I would be furious. Like, I get to the Super Bowl the first time with a perfect record, and it gets taken from me. Then to turn around and have a rematch and lose to the same team twice, that has to make me mad. That has to make me stay up at night and wonder, was I playing against the New York Giants, or was I playing against Superman? Coming in at number 1 is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, they've won 5 Super Bowls, and they've gone to like 7 or 8 Super Bowls, but technically they won 5, but there is a specific reason why they're on the list at number 1 and ahead of the Patriots. They've never lost a Super Bowl, but they won 5, and they've done it in a way that's all too familiar to you. If Michael Jordan won 6 championships, 6 times undefeated in the NBA Finals, well, the San Francisco, when they had Joe Montana, they've gone to the Super Bowl as many times as Michael Jordan and have never actually lost a Super Bowl. Every time San Francisco has gone to a Super Bowl, they won. Now, if you're talking about the 2 times that they went, you look at the 2013 Super Bowl, they lost the Super Bowl, but Joe Montana wasn't on that team. And if you look at this year's Super Bowl, yes, the San Francisco 49ers lost this year's Super Bowl, but Joe Montana was not on those 2 teams. But we're talking about the 1980s, mid-1990s Joe Montana San Francisco 49er team. The team that had Jerry Rice. The team that had Steve Young. We're talking about that 49er team. Because, yeah, they won, Joe Montana won 4 championships. But before Joe Montana came, San Francisco had already won a Super Bowl. So that's why they have 5. But if you just look at the 4 championships, Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl. So you look at Michael Jordan, he's never lost an NBA Finals. You look at Joe Montana, he's never really lost a Super Bowl. Yes, the 49ers have lost Super Bowls before Joe Montana got onto the team and after, but not doing his whole entire run as a player. And that's why they're number 1. So some of you might actually agree with this. Some of you might actually disagree with this. Some of you might say, I should have added 2 more teams in. If I was to add 2 more teams, it probably would have been Seattle because they won 1 Super Bowl. And I probably would have added in the New Orleans Saints. That would have been the only 2 teams I probably would have added. So I hope you guys love this video. This was a sports video. I apologize at the time. We got lucky because it's 27 minutes. So I managed to actually finish this in 27 minutes. Until next time, peace.